It's about time you listen to the Shenmue AM2 podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shenmue AM2 podcast. We're your hosts, Andrew
and Matt.
And today we are going over episode 5 of Shenmue The Animation, entitled Equal.
Who's the equal?
I think they mean it's Guizhang.
Yeah, that's all it can mean.
And Dio Hazuki of the Hazuki Dojo.
Yeah.
So, this episode starts with Shenhua reading the prof. No.
Oh my god.
Shenhua is not even in this episode.
What?
An ounce.
Wow.
Other than in the intro.
Is that a first?
That's, definitely a first, yeah.
It's a welcome first.
But they're going to make up for it. There's just going to be a 23-minute episode of her just reading it from a book to a bunch of children.
I sense a stranger from a faraway land has made his journey. He's begun his journey.
She starts reading it in the present tense instead of the past.
Yeah.
So, this episode starts with Guizhang and Ryo fighting in front of Terry.
Right where we left off.
But it's not quite where we left off because...
Yeah, we go back a little bit.
They go back a bit. There's Terry's goons are there with them, and they're saying how legit they are and betting on who they think would win.
Betting with no stakes defined. My money is on this person. My money's on this person. Well, how much money?
Yeah, there's no money. Unless they have, like, a predetermined amount, like, you just automatically mean $10.
Maybe.
So, Ryo's kind of having an inner monologue. He's like, I don't think Goro found my thing. But it turns out that Goro's not a greaseball. Goro's not a liar. Goro does know the best place to take a leak.
Mm-hmm.
And he does, and what does he see?
17.
He sees the number 17, then he pisses all over himself. That's a theme in this episode, people peeing on themselves.
Mm-hmm. When did Ryo do that? How did he know he was going to be at Warehouse 17? Don't think about it.
No, because he knew that's where the Mad Angels hung out.
I thought he went to see them and then he traveled somewhere to fight Guizhang.
Maybe. I'm pretty sure Goro had mentioned it to
Maybe
him,
it's within the vicinity. Maybe he just came out of the warehouse where the Mad Angels were and Guizhang was right there.
So it cuts to Goro, going to warehouse number 17, and these guys have Nozomi held hostage with the door just open.
He could have rescued her right there if it was quiet enough.
Yeah, he could have.
Or she could have walked out on her own, maybe.
Yeah, her upper body was tied up. Her legs did not appear to be tied up whatsoever.
She could have shimmied to the edge, then hopped down and walked out. They did not seem to be paying attention at all.
The Terry's goons that are kind of watching over her are just monologuing the plan. They're like, this is going to happen, and they're going to fight each other, and we're all going to pick up the scraps. And Goro obviously hears this, panics, and runs to go see Mai.
Oh wait, yeah, that's right. That's where the 17 led him. It led him to Nozomi, not to Ryo.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah.
Now he goes and sees Mai, and the comedic duo of Mai and Goro. You only get a teeny tiny bit of that in the game when they're talking about marriage. In this show, especially this episode, there's a lot of it. He goes in, and we're watching the Japanese with the English subtitles, and the subtitles for when he's just screaming at her, stuttering, were fantastic. So he goes in a panic, asking Mai to call the cops,
which is odd for him, I would think.
Yeah.
He probably wants to stay as far away from the cops as possible, usually.
And she calls him out on it. She's like, "You're a raving lunatic, deadbeat. They're not going to believe you." And hits him, which is also another theme of this episode.
Plus, they're probably paid off by the Mad Angels anyways.
Yeah. She hits him a lot in this episode.
It's fun.
Telling him to shut his mouth over and over. So Mai comes up with a plan to rescue. Is the plan to rescue Ryo or to rescue Nozomi?
I don't know. Where do they go first?
Well, they go to get a forklift.
Right.
That's her plan, but I don't know if what her intentions were.
I assumed it was to help Ryo, but yeah. I don't know. I guess it was probably Nozomi, since they do end up there first anyways.
So she goes and runs gung-ho for the forklift. Goro follows her.
I like her get up and go. I like her gumption.
She definitely wears the pants in that relationship. So she bolts for this forklift, and then Goro's like, "Who's gonna drive it?" And she's like, "I am." And then Goro backs up, and we get something we don't ever get in the game. We get a Goro Mark scene.
Well, I mean, this whole thing is not in the game, but yeah.
And why? Do you ever think it's weird that Ryo put so much faith in Goro taking a leak at this spot and, like, becoming a hero when he knows he's a goofball that can't fight?
Yeah, I guess it was a Hail Mary.
It really was. So Mark's like, "I can't let you guys drive the forklift. That's not safe. I'll drive the forklift. I'll save the day."
Wimmis would have my ass.
No one knows, not Canadian, knows what Wimmis is. What does Wimmis stand for?
Oh, I don't remember. It's the safety people for...
Workplace hazardous materials information sheet?
Maybe.
I think. It's a workplace safety thing here in Canada.
Insert your own to make that comment work.
So it cuts to a building back where Nozomi's being held, and they make a point to show a sign that says "Safety First." And then Mark comes steaming through the door. He breaks it on the third try, I think. And
Safely.
Very safely.
As safely as possible.
And then almost pitchforks the two guys that are watching over Nozomi and pins them to a shipping crate. And then breaks off the forklift forks. And he's like, "Everyone, get on."
I like this little group of
Ryo's minions?
Yeah, sub-heroes. I like that Ryo's not completely alone in the action department.
They're like a bunch of Green Rangers from the Power Rangers. He's all like, "It's morphin' time," and then, "Oh no, we're losing," and then you hear like, "Do, do, 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 do," and Goro just comes out of the ocean shooting lasers out of his fingers.
Yes.
That's it.
Dragon Zord.
Yeah. So we have something I made a note of, because it cuts back to the fight, and they really have Guizong's stance down pat, where he has like he has a palm up stance, as opposed to like making fists or like palms down, and I just thought that was a little nice detail they managed to get in there.
Yeah, the difference between Japanese and Chinese martial arts is kind of interesting. Like, I'd like to learn why they do one thing over the other. Like, a Chinese martial arts punch is usually like a vertical fist, and it's like straight, like just straight in. And then like a Japanese one is like with a horizontal fist, and it's like twisting the hip.
More of a boxing punch.
Yeah, and there's like more like over the top punches in Chinese martial arts. It's all interesting stuff. But I mean, if you team them up, that's got to be formidable. If you're trying to defend against two different styles.
Yeah.
If you're all those goons.
We'll come back to that in a minute too, because there's something I kind of want to talk about with that. So the goons they cut back to the goons that are pinned against the thing. They pissed themselves.
It was clear piss too, so they've been hydrating well.
Yeah. I mean,
they're not dehydrated minions.
Terry takes care of them. When they pull up they're on an adjacent side of a harbor. So Goro gets out, and Goro and Ryo have not known each other that long, and Goro thinks Aniki is dead. Aniki means bro.
Yeah.
And he's convinced Ryo's dead because he looks over the water and sees him and Guizong laying on the ground, and then he gets up And he's like, he's not dead. And Mai punches Goro and is like, of course he's not. Like, and I think that's punch number
three or four.
Second or third time she hit him so far this episode. Terry, unlike the game, because in the game, Terry picks up the thing and tries to smash the two of them, doesn't he? In this, Terry just looks over and he's like, finish them off. And one of the thugs swings a bat. Ryo moves and gets up. And then there's a flashback to the fight where him and Guizhong are like whispering sweet nothings into one another's ears.
You think somebody would have caught that?
Yeah.
And in the game, what's swung at them? Is it like, for some reason I'm remembering like a signpost with concrete on the bottom of it.
That's exactly what it is in the game, yeah.
That would hurt much more than a baseball bat.
Yeah, but you can swing a bat faster.
True.
Yeah, we'll test this out. Where are your chickens? No. Oh, that's terrible. We'll go find a homeless person.
Okay. No.
Where did we leave off? So, we get to, once it shows that Guizhong and Ryo are working together, and he says, let's put on a show, blah, blah, blah. It comes to the 7-man battle royal. I wish we had counted to see if there was actually 70 guys. I don't think there was.
I doubt it.
The battle happens very fast. There's only... So, in the battle in the game, you fight... Once you get to 20 guys, you have the guy in the green army coat and pants that has the long hair.
Yeah, there's no sub-bosses in this.
Yeah, there's no guy with the pipe, and there's no Pedro. So they dispel of these guys very...
Terry has no lieutenants.
Yeah, Terry's a one-man show here.
Yeah.
At the very end, when Terry's like, oh, blah, 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 and he's chirping at Goro, or Guizhong, Ryo's like, well, I don't have a horse in this race. I'm gonna head out, and just leaves him high and dry.
Well, I mean, he knows Guizhong can handle it.
And he actually, once Guizhong, there's a moment where Guizhong, is compromised, and Ryo's like, oh, and Guizhong's like, don't even think about it, I got this. And he easily defeats Terry. And then Terry warns them of what's to come, saying, once you get to China, if you think you've done anything right now, you're gonna essentially die. They reunite with the rest of the gang. He thanks everyone. Matt's getting distracted playing the papers. That's what old men do in their 40s.
Yep.
They just shuffle papers. Matt's.
Yep. There's just papers all around. I don't know what they're for.
Yeah, he was yelling at clouds earlier. So they get back with the rest of the group. Essentially, they have, a happy moment. He thanks everyone for helping him. He thanks Harasaki and Nozomi last. That's not necessarily the end of the episode, but it does show a flashback of her earlier in the episode when Ryo and Guizhong were talking, and Ryo said that he's gonna go to Hong Kong. That's when she makes her decision that she's going to Canada. I don't know if they really fleshed that out in the game.
What, her struggling over it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I think it was almost the decision was made for her in the game.
Seemed like it. And in this, she never even tells him that she's going to Canada. He has no idea.
No, yeah, she was going to ask his advice on it, and on the motorcycle ride home, he remembers that she had that question. She's like, no, I figured it out. Yeah. Then cries on the tiger on his back, and then yeah, like, they have their final goodbye scene, and she doesn't mention she's leaving. So, yeah, Ryo's going to China not knowing that she's out of here. Maybe he'll never see her again. So that's a weird change. I thought, when Ryo is in China in the game, and he's talking to Shenhua, he mentions his friend who went to Canada, I believe. Yeah, when they have the conversation at the...
in the cave.
Matt's cat's just being a jerk here.
Kitty, go away.
Yeah, they have a conversation about it, and Shenhua almost seems a little jealous at that moment, too. Yeah. That he's talking about another girl. Because the prophecy does not say a girl comes from the east or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot. So essentially at the...
it reveals that she was, running up she was running up towards him on the pier. You know, she wanted that run up and embrace moment, and then she overheard him say that he's leaving. So, yeah, she decided in that moment, go away, kitty. You know, cats. If there's a closed door, they want in.
And the minute they get in, they're like, nah.
And yeah, and
nah, I don't want to be here anymore.
Why are you closing the door behind
I'm going to Canada.
I need access both ways whenever I want.
You should get a cat door for this room. So we have a bit of a time skip. It says numerous days later.
Numerous days.
Rio quits his job. He doesn't get fired.
Well, it's better for his resume.
Yeah. Mark kind of walks in on him quitting. And is a little sad, but he understands that he's, going to go try to... There's a different cat here now. He's going to go and try to, investigate about his father. Mm-hmm. Again, doesn't use the word revenge here.
Yeah, it's all about clearing his name. No revenge needed.
It's weird to me that they're taking an entirely different tone. With that whole
complete different motivation than the game.
Yeah, the motivation is the best way to describe it. It really is. No goodbye from Tom.
Tom was in one scene in this whole show, wasn't he? Just the first episode, that's it?
Yeah, well, there's the scene where... I think it's 2 scenes, maybe. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that's it. Tom doesn't go to the harbor. No, when we get to the end, we'll talk about everything that wasn't in this. Because he does go to China. The ferry looks like an absolute fucking rust bucket. You couldn't pay me to get on that boat. It looks bad. Would you get on that boat?
I mean, I'd check out the lifeboat situation first, but...
So, he's on the boat. Oh, he does fight Chai, too.
Right.
It's a very quick fight.
And Gujan gets his leg broke.
Yep, yeah, so that's... kind of the same. He doesn't learn a move from Master Chen. Again, the swallow kick is the only... or swallow dive kick, whatever it's called.
That's all he needs.
That's all he needs. That's the only thing he has learned, martial arts-wise.
No, he learned something from Yamagishi, didn't he? But we don't know what exactly.
Yeah, they don't... They
just showed him doing some sort of pose, and there's, like, blast waves coming from him.
Yeah, that's it. No Dark Side Hazuki during the 70-man Battle Royal. Like, it's... Yeah. So he gets on the boat and he leaves, and we're done. Chapter 1, Yokosuka of Shenmue 1.
And you said you heard for sure Chapter 2 is going to be on the boat, is going to be in this?
I think it has to be because they show him fighting Chai again.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's where this ends. Now, there was so much cut out of this.
Before we get into that, what episode is this again?
This is episode 5.
Out of
13.
Okay.
So we still have 8 left to cover China.
Okay.
Yeah. So much was cut out of this. Matt talking about, like, the different martial arts. The martial arts part of the aspect of this is almost, like, non-existent. There's no...
The journey of martial arts, learning.
Yeah, there really isn't any whatsoever.
Even though Chai is like, you've, like, grown stronger.
Yeah, but it's just because he's had a couple street fights. The fighting in this was kind of to a minimum as well. Well, now, it is in the game a bit, too.
This episode probably had the most fighting out of all the episodes, though.
Oh, absolutely, by far. But I mean, overall, the story arc of this first chapter. No homeless guy at the port, so that is entirely skipped. The friendship with Tom and Tom leaving to go to the United States, totally skipped. The cat skipped. Anything with Megumi skipped.
All of his friends, like the motorcycle friend.
Yeah, the people in the picture, other than Nozomi, skipped. The arcade, fighting Chai there, skipped. The being extorted while on the job, like paying the insurance for the new guy, that's all skipped.
The crooked company selling the Hong Kong ticket.
Skipped. The like the 3 blades skipped.
Right.
Yeah,
that would have been fun to learn about. The the three blades and the history behind it.
Because when he gets to China, like 3 Blade Street is going to mean absolutely nothing. So they're going to have to... I'm wondering...
Maybe you'll learn about it at that point.
Possibly. I'm wondering how they're going to do, like, the districts. Is that what they're called in South Carolina?
Quarters?
Quarters. I wonder how they're going to do the quarters in that game. But yeah, just... They really trimmed the fat on this. And got through the story in 5 episodes. Like to the button 5 episodes. Yep. There wasn't any
bleed over into Shenmue 2 in this episode.
No, he other than showing Lan Di, but we already know he was leaving anyways. Yeah. They just show like Lan Di on a boat approaching China. That's it. Yeah, there's not a whole lot more we can talk about for this episode. Overall, there was a lot of comedy in this episode. I really enjoyed the whole Mai Goro.
Yeah, I liked all the extra stuff they gave to those characters. That was fun.
No forklift races.
No forklift races.
But we did see Mark recklessly drive a forklift and almost kill 2 people who ended up pissing themselves.
That'll have to do.
So, for this, now that we're done the Yokosuka part of this, put in the comments if you're listening to this on YouTube, or hit us up on Twitter at Shenmue AM2 Pod, or Shenmue AM2 Podcast at gmail.com. So when we film our next episode, so we can talk and get your feedback, what you liked, what you didn't like about the show so far, because this is a good spot to kind of have a discussion.
A little
recap. We have received some messages so far.
You're gonna save them?
Yeah, some anti-Trudeau stuff, probably.
What?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that message. Yeah. That was random.
But yeah, so, and this is assuming we can have another podcast and there's no nuclear war in between now and then.
True,
yeah. This is crazy times. So that's it for this episode. Hit us up on social media. We want to hear from you. Just what you like, what you didn't like. You can even do it on our forum on the Shenmue Dojo if you like. That's a good spot to put it. We'd like to thank our sponsor this week, Mai's Boxed Lunches.
She'll box your lunch good.
Ow.